Good morning and welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Calvin Butenoff coming to you live from our sunny studio in downtown Waukesha. You can always join us. You can call, text at the same number, 855-752-4842. That's 855-75-CIVIC. Or leave a comment on the live stream if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Lots of things coming up today. Excited to have Robin Grams from the city of Waukesha is going to be stopping in around 10:50 to talk about Riverside Rhythms.
Ooh.
That's getting underway right along the river here in downtown Waukesha. It's a wonderful event. Our own Johnny Watermelon is going to be out there every Wednesday. So Robin will be here to talk all about Riverside Rhythms and some of the local artists that are going to be performing down there. It's pretty cool. Doug Haynes at 11:06 is an author, and he's out with his second book called Wisconsin GOP History, a coloring book. I think it'll be really interesting. I do.
Sorry.
I know. It should be a fun conversation.
I need it. Okay. Yep. I'm already thinking about Christmas presents now.
Okay, good. And I want to remind you about our Scotty Summer statewide text to win contest begins this Monday at 7 a.m. So here's what happens. You want to tune in because you have a chance to win some really nice stuff, including Wisconsin Dells prize packages, Milwaukee Brewers club level tickets, the chance to win a Scotty Summer staycation.
Yeah.
So you have a chance to win every weekday starting from Monday to the 14th, starting at 7 a.m. right through the 7 p.m. hour. And you're going to get a keyword that you're going to have to text in. And then everyone is entered automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And from those keywords, one winner will be chosen for that hour.
Yeah.
Is the way that it worked last time.
I just want to put a thing out really quick. We're using the term Scotty with this program, with this
contest.
Thank you. Wow. Words are tough.
Ah.
I just want to put a word out to the marketing department for Civic Media. I think we need some merch that says Scotty on it, like, Scotty by birth.
Oh, I like that.
Or like radio lover by choice, something like that. I just want the word Scotty. I used to have a shirt that said Scotty, but it no longer fits, and I'm not willing to do push-ups. So,
well, we'll work on the merch.
New merch.
Work on the merch. But what you need to do in order to take part in this statewide text to win contest is download the Civic Media app, because you can call and text directly from the app. So wherever you get your apps, download the Civic Media app and then get ready to text in on Monday. And I know our friend and colleague Todd Alba did a test run yesterday.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Which really was very funny, but there's kind of an internal competition on who gets the most text sent in during their shows.
Yeah.
And last year, Todd won. I think we were third, which is very respectable. It was our first trip, our first time with this contest, but I think we can do better.
Folks, I don't think we can do better. I think you can do better.
Well, it is kind of all up to you.
Yeah, I can't text at all. I mean, I can text, but no one cares. So yeah, we'll get ready. We won't let you down, Jane. We'll do this as a team.
Be ready coming Monday. So download the Civic Media app right now. It's absolutely free. And then wherever you're listening and whatever station you're listening to all across the vast Civic Media radio network, you can listen through the app.
Yeah.
And take us with you wherever you go this summer. All right, we're going to start off with a segment we're calling, Well, Recuse Me.
Well, excuse me!
Yes. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito in the news. You may have heard something about this.
What flag is he in love with now?
About flying the freak flags outside of his house. Of course, the Washington Post sat on a story for 3 years that after the attack on the Capitol on January 6th of 2021 and before President Biden's inauguration on January 20th, outside the Alito household was an upside-down American flag flying, which many people associate with the attack on the Capitol because a number of those people were carrying upside-down American flags.
Yeah.
They were also flying the Alitos at their summer home. His summer home. The Appeal to Heaven flag, which while does have a longstanding historical significance, that also has been very much aligned with the Christian nationalist movement.
Yeah.
And so, again, after sitting on this story for 3 years, the New York Times finally published that the Post had all this information, and the story came out, and there was a letter saying that Samuel Alito should recuse himself from determining any cases that are related in any way to the January 6th attack at the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
So, yesterday, Justice Alito wrote a defiant letter to Senate leaders who raised concerns over these flags. Quote, "My wife is fond of flying flags. I am not. My wife was solely responsible for having flagpoles put up at our residence and our vacation home and has flown a wide variety of flags over the years."
Is this like the third time that Associate Justice Samuel Alito has thrown his wife under the bus for this entire thing?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Every time someone's like, "It's my wife.
She made me, well, she did it.
She did it. She did." I have no mind of my own in this home. I make no decisions. It's my wife.
Well, it is interesting that Alito, who wrote the opinion that overturned Roe versus Wade, says his wife, quote, "makes her own decisions, and I have always respected her right to do so," unquote. Well, that's because she's no longer a breeder, apparently.
Yeah. Or she would make, quote unquote, the right choice then.
She would make the right decision.
Yeah. This is.
So he's not going to recuse himself. I didn't ever believe that he would recuse himself, even though that seems like the right thing to do.
I mean, when you have conflicted interests like that, I mean, not only, also Clarence Thomas has conflicts of interest, not recusing himself. It's just, I don't demand anything of these individuals anymore because they don't care. They don't have to care. There are no consequences.
There's no one they answer to.
I hate saying that because it sounds so cynical, and I never want to be a cynic. But over and over again, it has been proven to us with evidence, fact-based evidence, that these individuals of great power and of great wealth do not face the same sorts of consequences and or justices
or checks and balances
that you or I face. I mean, you can look it down. I mean, lying on the stand. I'll use an old example. Bill Clinton perjured himself on the stand. If you or I would have done that, jail.
Oh, yeah.
Donald Trump is running his mouth off every day.
And continuing to violate the gag order. E. Jean Carroll is considering suing him again.
We'd be in jail forever.
Yeah.
So it's these individuals. Why do they need to recuse themselves? We're going to lose interest in a week to 10 days. And we move on to the other tragedy. Some other mass shooting is going to happen. We have to talk about it as we should talk about it. While these idiots who are like, they are, I don't know, there's not a cool term for conflict of interest, but they have conflicts of interest. 3 of their coworkers are straight up liars.
Yep.
They could just do whatever they want.
Apparently so. Andrew from Verona listening here on WAUK texting in, "Wow, Alito gives his wife more autonomy with that flagpole than her own reproductive organs." Yes, Andrew, you are sadly right. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and or Twitter. We're talking about whether or not Justice Samuel Alito should recuse himself from January 6th cases that are going to be coming before the Supreme Court. And another reason why I brought this up is because now there is some controversy here at home.
Yeah.
A judge, this is from Scott Bauer in the Associated Press, a judge overseeing a challenge brought by unions who want to undo the Act 10 measure. Dane County Circuit Judge Jacob Frost's name and signature appears on a petition to recall Scott Walker at the time. Now, he was not a county circuit judge at that time. He was appointed to the bench in 2020 by Governor Tony Evers. Evers defeating Walker in 2018. At the time of the recall, Frost was working as a private practice attorney after he graduated from law school in 2010. So now, because he signed this recall election, there are calls that he should recuse himself from hearing this case about whether or not Act 10 should be overturned.
Yeah.
My question is, should they both recuse? I mean, if Alito doesn't recuse, should Frost have to recuse? And if we demand that Alito recuse, should we demand that Frost recuse? 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. If you want to call or text, I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah.
Because I think if we're going to have that standard, whether or not this will actually happen, I think they should both recuse.
Okay.
Governor Evers says no, there's no reason for Frost to recuse himself from this case. I kind of think, again, if we're going to demand that Alito step down, why would the situation be different for this judge here in Wisconsin?
I've been going back and forth on this ever since you brought it up, and I'm just of a petty mind right now. I don't think he should. We demand, but that doesn't go anywhere. There's no official documentation to say Judge Alito, pardon me, Justice Alito, recuse yourself. There's calls for it. He says no. So I'm not even going to bother with Frost. If one of the 9 justices in the highest court of the land says no, I can do this. I can oversee a case that I have put out my specific interests in, and we're talking about the overthrowing of election processes, and I'm not going to do it, then I'm not even going to broach it, because I am now starting to see conservative leaders say Frost needs to recuse himself, as if Justice Alito has never spoken about this at all. So that's my big problem as well. So you know what? Good for the goose, good for the gander. If Alito gets to do it, Frost gets to do it, and you can't say anything. That's my compromise. I won't demand anything, but you can't say anything because you're not going to take up the same sort of mantle as we would.
855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Recusal for me and not for thee? Or is it recusal for all? Should they both just recuse themselves and get it over with? Although that's not actually.
I can't write that as the title for the podcast. That's too long.
It's too long. We'll work on it during the break. Stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. We are coming to you across the vast Civic Media radio network.
Well, excuse me if I break my own heart.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, the Calvinator on the board. We are coming to you live from our studio in sunny downtown Waukesha. It's so nice out, by the way. Get outside if you have a chance. It's really beautiful. You can always join our conversation. 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and or Twitter. We're talking about whether or not Justice Samuel Alito and a Dane County judge here in Wisconsin should both recuse. We'll get back to that conversation in just a second. Want to remind you, the Waukesha Farmers Market is underway and runs all summer and into early fall. It's really a wonderful, wonderful farmers market. And I'm going to be down there this Saturday.
What?
Yes. So stop on by. You can register to win this really nice bicycle and we can chat.
I was going to say, tell them what you said yesterday.
Well, if we don't always have the time to have long conversations when people call in.
Correct.
Because we have time constraints. That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
And so if you would like to have a longer conversation about something, anything, come on down. I'll make sure we have 2 chairs.
Ooh.
I know. Really splashing out on the chair. Make sure we have 2 chairs and we can sit down and have a long conversation. And I mean that most sincerely. I really do.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
We're just not going to yell at each other, okay?
Oh, then I'm not going to work the farmer's market this
Oh,
year.
come on. You can do it and be non-yelly. Anyway, this Saturday, Waukesha Farmers Market, right downtown, right along the river. Come on out and say hello. Look for the WAUK Civic Media tent, and I will be out there from 9 till about 11:30. So I'm looking forward to it. We're going to do a scone run.
Pat and I had a very long conversation today about scones on the radio. Not long, but just more than you should talk about scones.
more attention than a scone deserves.
Exactly.
Right. Again, we were talking about Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito. Controversy over the flags flying outside of his home. Alito had the upside down American flag hanging outside of his house after the January 6th attack on the Capitol. And then they had another one, the Appeal to Heaven flag flying outside their vacation home, apparently for a very long time. And now this Wisconsin Justice, Dane County Circuit Judge Jacob Frost, who is overseeing the case about whether or not Act 10 should be overturned.
Yeah.
He signed the recall to recall Scott Walker in 2011. This was before he was on the court. But now there are calls that he needs to recuse from that case, just like Alito should be recusing himself from any January 6th cases, including whether or not then President Trump has complete and total immunity, which is a very scary proposition.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, the fact that he says it, it makes you go, okay. But then you think about our Supreme Court and you think, oh no.
Oh no is right.
Yeah.
So should they both recuse? Should one recuse? Should no one recuse? Is it just recuse me?
Well, excuse me.
855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. You can join us right now. Jake from Madison, listening on WFHR, saying Act 10 is a bad idea passed in a scummy way isn't the same as saying it's unconstitutional. Frost should stay on in Dane County. But notice how Republicans jump all over issues and amplify them. I sure wish Dick Durbin could be a fraction as angry and active about going after Alito Thomas for their crookedness. Jake and Madison. Yeah, Jake, I don't get it. It's they it's like, oh, what can we do? We'll write a nasty letter.
Yeah.
We'll say we're so disappointed in you.
I don't have to do anything because it really doesn't affect me anyways because I'm a rich senator. So I think that brings up a good point. You know, Act 10 and Act 32 was done in a really he didn't run on those things.
He never mentioned those things.
And then they happened. And then he got the support of the police union behind him for this.
And firefighters, right?
But the firefighters marched.
Oh, that's right. In
when
Madison.
in Madison, they marched with the teachers. The police did not.
Right.
And so and also with this next text from Jim from Appleton, he's saying, first, Frost was not a judge when the recall petition was circulated. Second, we've been down this road, most recently with Judge Janet. Third, I'm sick of Republican whining and trying to play rules for thee, but not for me. When I see Sammy, Clarence, Neal, and Cannon recusing them because of much more recent conflict of interest, I don't care what the regressive party says.
Appreciate that, Jake. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, that's when I said earlier that it's coming from a petty side. I'm angry over the fact that you have once again, a judge in the highest court of the land flying an upside down flag, putting his feelings out there about the overturning of our electoral process, our democracy. And he gets to say, no, I'm fine. I don't have to do that. Meanwhile, a guy signs his name on a piece of paper because he had his feelings about a governor who was not fit for the job he believed.
And again, this is in 2010.
This is in 2011.
2011.
And that little signature is supposed to garner the same sort of upheaval? No. I'm sorry. I don't. Because it's fine. Ask them both to recuse themselves. If Alito doesn't, I no longer care if Frost does.
855-752-4842. What do you think? Should they both recuse? Should one recuse? Should no one recuse? What do you think? Callan says, too, that if Jacob Frost wasn't on the court when he signed the recall, I think that's the difference between him and Alito.
And Chris Casper said the police did march with the protesters. I was there. It was actually kind of awesome to see them doing solidarity, followed up by John in West Bend saying it was the Milwaukee police and firefighters that supported Walker. The professional firefighters of Wisconsin marched and fought against Act 10. So I don't know.
Thank you for that clarification.
I don't know if it was the official police unions. Cops may have marched with them, but like I said, he got them on his side. He didn't say anything about Act 10 or 32, and then he pulled this.
Well, and that's what I think, again, people tend to forget. As you pointed out, Greg, Scott Walker never mentioned that once when he was running for office. Not once. And then when he was elected, boom, they just kind of rammed it through. And that ultimately was his big conservative accomplishment that launched his presidential run.
Yeah.
That's what he was running on. Look what I did in Wisconsin. I broke the unions. Reward me.
Yeah.
Let me be your president so I can do this all around the country. And he was pretty soundly rejected.
Oh my gosh. And he was a Koch brothers guy.
Yes.
That was the first big nick in the armor for the Koch brothers. Everyone thought they were indestructible. Then good old Scott, I bumped my head on a shelf. Walker comes in and says, hey, I can do this. And people are like, no. Also, for the record, I'll just say this out loud before we take off to get a snack. I was against the recall.
You were.
Absolutely.
And
my name is probably on the list somewhere because at the time I was like, yeah, I'll sign it. Then I realized it's the same issue I have with the Robin Voss recall. It was bad timing, too much money for such, like, if you don't like Scott Walker, spend the time to find a candidate, run in the reelect,
and work against him, right?
Because what happened was in his election, he won by 3 points. In the recall election, he won by 9.
Yeah, there were a lot of people who were against the recall just on principle.
Yeah, so it was a waste of time and money, and I just,
News is on the way next. When we return, guns in the RNC. This seems like a bad idea. Stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air, coming to you on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Is there some sort of joke to you? Well, excuse me if I break my heart tonight. Excuse me if I break my own heart tonight. After all else mine. After all else mine. After all is mine.
morning and welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg, Bach, and Calvin coming to you from our studio in downtown Waukesha, where you can always join the conversation. You can call, you can text 855-752-4842. That's 855-75-CIVIC. Or leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We do have baseball action coming up a little later on this morning. Cubs at the Brew Crew, 11:35. If you want to listen to the game, you can't listen on the app, but you can listen to the game on News from the Center, WRCE in Richland Center. That's 107.7 FM and 1450 AM. And also on WRJN in Racine and in Kenosha on 98.1 FM. So Brewers hosting the Cubbies today at 11:35. If you want to catch some baseball action, what a beautiful day for baseball.
Oh my God, I wish I could go. Well, wait, it's that I could go to the game.
You'll be a little late, but you could still go.
Oh, baseball. All right.
Allison Durr for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel has a great article in the JS Online today about the upcoming Republican National Convention. And after I read the article, I have to say, this seems like a bad idea. This just seems like a bad idea to me. Those looking to cross into the area immediately outside the Republican National Convention perimeter will likely have to leave behind non-plastic containers, tennis balls, other kind of innocuous things, but they will allow guns.
Will they allow guns made out of tennis balls?
Probably not.
Darn it!
Alderman Robert Bauman says, I find that totally absurd because his district includes the downtown area where the convention is going to be. Literally, you can't have tennis balls, but you can have an AR-15 assault rifle.
You know what, though? In the past, we've talked about the fact that the CPAC and other Republican events won't allow guns.
They won't allow guns at the NRA convention.
At the NRA convention. But you know what? I mean, I don't like it and I don't want it. And that's going to keep me even further away from the downtown area. But hey, you're believing in that Second Amendment, I guess. It's good Lord.
Robert Bauman considering pushing for changes and rethinking his sponsorship of a proposed ordinance that would prohibit dozens of items, including air rifles, would be prohibited, but not actual guns.
What do you have there? A pellet gun? No, just real guns.
It's a gun.
I mean,
it's an actual legitimate gun. In the RNC security footprint, that's where the public and demonstrators can come and go during the events. Within that area, you can have guns, but no tennis balls, no bouncing.
So no pickup, like pickleball games are going to happen.
Not going to happen.
You're just asking for trouble. You're begging for trouble.
Yes, you are.
You want trouble to happen so you have a finger to point at. I mean, I don't want to be a doomsayer, but this is irresponsibility at a very high level.
I would agree with you.
This just goes to show how much of a poop show this RNC is going to be. Well, I think.
And I think too, I think you make a good point about, and I've always been concerned about this, the city coming off looking badly.
Yes.
And allowing this kind of almost ensures that something bad will happen. And as you said, then they can go back and say, it's a Democrat-run city. This is why this happens. That's why Milwaukee is terrible.
That's why I always look at from the point of view of, like, they come to these big cities and then they make fun of these big cities.
Yes.
And they're like, the liberally controlled cities, like, why? Okay, then go to Tulsa, go have it in a big farmland, like go to where you think the people who you love live. Don't come here then and complain about us. You have to come here because it's the only place that will allow you to do what you want to do. And then you're going to allow guns on the premises?
Nick Daciato, who's chief of staff to Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson, says, we are at the mercy of state law for this. The legislation would prohibit any dangerous ordinance, weapon, or firearm prohibited by the laws of Wisconsin under specific statutes, referencing machine guns, short-barreled shotguns, short-barreled rifles, silencers. They did include that same language in the ordinance the city passed before the DNC, which pretty much got canceled because we were in the middle of COVID at that time. Wisconsin law prevents the city and all local governments from prohibiting the possession or carrying of legal firearms.
I am really disappointed. I'm not shocked, but I'm disappointed.
Is this a good idea?
This is a terrible idea.
855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment if you're watching in the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that Elon continues to actively ruin.
And frankly, I don't know how many people are listening to this right now, but I'll make an appeal. If you want to go protest the RNC this year, I suggest you don't, for many reasons. Top of that, security reasons now, because if they're going to allow guns, people will have those guns on them as they're walking into the facility.
You can't bring them into the facility. This is just for the perimeter.
Okay, well,
outside of the convention.
So people will have guns on them.
I think that can be pretty much a given.
Okay.
If these are the rules that they're going to have in place.
So as we know, some of these, and please pardon the pun, it's the only one I can think of. Some of them are easily triggered when you get in the way of their freedoms. So who knows what could happen? And then guess what happens when John Q, gun owner of the public, pulls his gun? It's all of a sudden the fault of the person who doesn't own the gun, who's there protesting as guaranteed by the Constitution of this United States you claim to love. This is only going to go wrong for the people who protest this. So honestly, I just think it's a bad idea to protest this, or go to a place across town and I don't know, but don't put yourself in a place A, to get hurt, or B, to get blamed, because this will not end well for the people who are dissenting this organization's activities.
The security footprints for the RNC expected to extend from Cherry Street to the north to West Clybourne on the south, from North Water on the east to North 9th on the west. Security footprint will surround a hard perimeter where you have to get credentials, and there you can't have guns.
Oh, well, thank God. Thank goodness. Whew, problem solved, everybody.
U.S. Secret Service controls the area inside the hard perimeter that won't allow any weapons except for government agents and law enforcement officers, obviously. But I am deeply concerned about this. If they allow this.
Yeah.
Deeply, deeply concerned.
I do not. And the thing is if they don't allow it, then they're going to have to extend the security perimeter out even further to make checks. Though, if you want to go into that specific area where protesters and people walking around can enter, then you have to go through that. So it's even more, it's security that I'm happy with, but it's more money. It's more like problems.
Oh yeah. It's a bigger layout for law enforcement.
If you're a GOP voter and you're going to the RNC, or you want to go, just leave your gun at home, please.
Well, and you can't bring it into the convention.
Exactly. You're gonna be walking around, or leave it in your car, or like just leave it at home. Put it in a locked safe and go walk around. I don't know. This is so
dangerous.
Infuriating,
It's
dangerous, annoying. It makes me so just, oh.
The RNC and National Republicans putting increasing pressure on the Secret Service to expand the hard perimeter to absorb these demonstrations around Père Marquette Park. Republicans say they're concerned about the potential for conflict between demonstrators and convention attendees if they allow that protester a quarter mile from Fiserv. They want a mandated confrontational area.
What does that mean?
A place where people can go yell at each other, apparently.
Or fight.
Yeah, which is not a good idea.
No, I mean, God, oh, God, this is handled this is so stupid. These people are so stupid.
Well, and I guess what really tops the cake on this article today in the Journal Sentinel from Allison Durr is that the Republican National Convention officials have declined to comment on guns being allowed in the security footprint. They're not going to address it. The co-chair of the Coalition to March on the RNC, Omar Flores, said the group has already been preparing for the potential that people who disagree with them might be armed. He expressed frustration at what he sees as the different approach to First and Second Amendment rights during the convention.
Mr. Flores, I understand that you have to take in consideration whenever you march, you're going to run into people that you disagree with, and sometimes they might be armed. In this case, I feel like it's guaranteed that you have to look at it and say every single person is armed. And unless you are walking around in bulletproof everything, man, I I do not. I'm sorry, but I don't want to see anyone get hurt, and I don't want to see
On either side, on
protesting.
any side. I
I
don't
don't-
want anybody getting hurt.
No, of course I don't want anyone. I don't want anyone to get hurt on either side ever. But my point is, it's so like them that anytime something happens, they're going to point the finger at the people who had no guns on them, saying they're the ones who provoked it. They're the anti-Americans. They're the protesters who don't want us to do anything. It's like, yeah, but they didn't have a gun. They don't have a gun. Yell back. Make a face. Flip the bird. I don't care. But when someone has a gun, they have an automatic advantage. And if they have a bad temper, it gets even worse.
A short fuse.
So I don't want to tell people not to protest and stand up for what they believe. I absolutely believe in that. But if you are putting yourself into a situation where many people may be armed around you who severely disagree with what you are saying, that is dangerous. And the GOP, shame on them for saying nothing and even allowing guns into the security perimeter.
It's amazing.
What are we doing?
Seriously, it is amazing.
I would like to know what the DNC, I'm not saying, oh, they're so much better. I have no idea what their plan is. Are they even going to be like, yeah, just don't even bring a gun?
Well, it's in Chicago. You can't have guns.
Hmm.
So that kind of alleviates that question.
Yeah, I mean, I just...
Again, if you're just joining us, there's an article in today's Milwaukee Journal Sentinel from Allison Durr talking about people in the area immediately outside of the perimeter of the Republican National Convention in July in downtown Milwaukee have to leave. They can't bring in non-plastic water, water bottles or anything like that.
That's where this whole thing started.
And they can't bring in tennis balls because I know when I go to a convention, I always bring tennis balls.
You never know. A pickup game might happen. Andrew on the live stream said, why is the RNC worried about protesters being armed? Firearms are constitutionally protected more than reproductive health care. So, I mean, it's... Don't go bringing your pregnant ladies there either, I guess, because they might have a baby. And, pregnant liberal ladies, they have abortions when the baby comes and after.
Yeah, right.
Sorry, I'm really fired about this. Absolutely.
Well, that's why we brought it up.
Yeah.
Because this just dropped today.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that people know about this and get the discussion going. Maybe they will change something. Gary from Sussex is on the line. Good morning, Gary. Thank you for joining us. What do you think about this?
Well, I think you guys are thinking too far out of the box. First of all, I don't know if you guys have your concealed carry permit. I do. I got it right at the very beginning, and I haven't pointed my gun at anybody ever.
Great.
Haven't shot anybody lately.
Great.
Congratulations.
So the fact of the matter is, people who have the concealed carry, since you took the course, you know the ramifications of even pulling your gun out and pointing at somebody. You're going to go to jail. So we're good gun toting conservatives, and I don't think that there's going to be a problem at all. Now, I worry more about frozen water bottles, and bricks. That's what I'm more concerned with. The tennis balls, I don't have a problem with.
Yeah, I certainly, Gary, I mean, I thank you, as always, really appreciate you giving your perspective. We really do appreciate you checking in, because we want to hear from people with differing views. I agree with you that the vast majority of gun owners are very responsible people. That does not mean that there are not many, many irresponsible people who are also gun owners.
Okay.
And yeah, don't bring frozen water bottles and bricks, okay? Don't bring those either. Maybe a ping pong ball. Try that.
Yeah.
Although that probably won't get through either. But you want to live on the edge.
Yeah.
Try the ping pong ball. All right, we're going to change course when we return and talk about Riverside Rhythms coming back to downtown Waukesha. It's a wonderful event. Robin Grams from the city of Waukesha will be joining us in studio, so stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Well, poodle skirt and saddle shoes, like a flippin' fly when she dance with you. She can dance all night, so you best be hot.
Good morning and welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Sweet Cal B on the board, coming to you from our studio in beautiful downtown Waukesha. You can always join us. You can call, you can text at 855-752-4842 or leave a comment on live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. He is with the city of Waukesha. Robin Grams is here. Good morning, Robin. How you doing?
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Riverside Rhythms, which is right along the river in beautiful downtown Waukesha. And I know WAUK was out there last summer. Johnny Watermelon would go down there for the concerts and had a lovely time. And it's a really nice, intimate place. It's not like you're going to a festival.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. And Johnny said he's coming back again this year, so we're happy to have him.
Excellent.
So where do you get the talent from who perform?
So we put out music applications to people who have performed in the past or people that have performed at other venues, other events, and it's picked up over the years. This is the 6th Riverside Rhythms. We have 11 dates and we had about 30 applications for
That's
musicians.
great.
Yeah, so
That's
a
fantastic.
few new ones this year, some of the one favorites coming back as well. So yeah, this event is just it's continued to grow. 8 sponsors this year as well.
Great.
Yeah, we have a lot of local ones. Eaton, Chef Pam's Kitchen, Metal Tech, Chick-fil-A's sponsoring. They're going to be the first food vendor as well.
Oh, nice.
Sky High Marketing, Generac, American Family Insurance, and Waterstone Bank. So
It's
good.
growing.
That's
It's
fantastic.
growing. So
Do you have a favorite group that's coming? I mean, you don't have to pick favorites, but one you're excited about.
Oh, well, for a new one, the Mad Haffel Trio, they're a new one. I've heard good things about them, but
Excellent.
Robert Allen Jr. band, he performs a lot of here. He's performed at Summerfest, and
I'm pretty sure he was my guitar teacher growing up. Robert Allen Jr. I think
Really?
so. Yeah, I really do. I think so.
yeah, he's
really think-
great.
yeah.
But yeah, the whole lineup is it's great, and we have so many food vendors as well. Like I mentioned, Chick-fil-A, Mama D's, which is a downtown business. We like to have downtown businesses. Crazy Taco, Phoenix Mobile Grill, Mr. P's Grilled Cheese, Slow Motion Barbecue, Tots on the Street, and Rose Mob Grill. So
now I'm starving. This always happens when we have a guest and they talk about food.
They never bring food. We got to become one of those shows where like, we're going to make a croissant today. And then at the end, we're having a lovely croissant.
well, come on down, do the show live, and then you can have some food as well.
I like the way you're thinking,
I like the way
Robin.
you think, Robin. So what time does Riverside Rhythms start? And what is the start date? Is it next Wednesday?
The start date is June 12th.
Okay, June
so
12th.
June 12th,
Couple
it will
weeks.
go, every Wednesday during the summer except July 3rd, just because people being out of town and everything.
Sure.
And it's from 11:30 to 1. So it's one food truck, one band, and a lot of seats. We average about 125 people.
Which is such a nice
It is.
it's a nice cozy little
That's
group
great. I love that.
for people like me who aren't big crowd
oh, my
crowd
goodness.
people.
Well, and you get such a variety. You have these parents coming with their kids during the summer. You get some retired people. You get people coming down for lunch from some of the businesses. It's great. It's a great turnout.
And a really nice opportunity, as you said, too, Robin, to highlight some local food vendors.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
know, try different stuff. And I went down there last year, and I can't remember what it was, but it was fantastic.
Calvin, our resident young person behind the boards here, said, shout out to Mr. P's Grilled Cheese. My friend is the owner. So there you go.
Excellent.
That's a great
Ty
name.
Paulson. Yeah.
That's a great name. Mr. P's Grilled Cheese. All right.
Yeah, that's one of the favorites. It's a mix of, because the event's growing and having so many applications and food vendors and things. I try to have some of the favorites come back and ones
Sure.
that have been loyal from the start, but I
Yeah.
also like to mix in some new flavors and new music so that people can it doesn't get old. It's
exactly.
new, fresh.
You want to change things up a little bit.
Absolutely. You want to give other people chances for that to be seen by crowds, to grow a fan base. and things like
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Robin Grams is our guest from the city of Waukesha, and we're talking about Riverside Rhythms, which is kicking out off down here in downtown Waukesha on June 12th, every Wednesday except July 3rd, starting from June 12th from 11:30 until 1 o'clock. Highly encourage you to check it out. And again, our very own Johnny Watermelon, who is a very congenial man. He loves to talk to people. He really does.
He's like our ambassador.
He is.
He's our
great.
outdoor ambassador.
Johnny will be down there every week, every Wednesday, I believe, for Riverside Rhythms. So look for him in the WAUK tent. Robin, within a couple of minutes that we have left, what else is coming up?
So we have such a great lineup over the summer and into the fall. One of the other events that my department, community development, puts on is the Walktober Beer and Wine Walk.
That's a big deal.
It is.
That one I remember last year you guys were talking about this one sells out.
Sells out
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah.
We have run out, so it's going to be October 19th this year.
Put it on your calendar now.
Yep.
And then another October one too is the Waukesha Unlocked. That's
so cool.
That's great. That's when the there's going to be tours and events for spaces that aren't typically open to the public. So that's October 12th and 13th downtown
Excellent.
as well.
It's like doors open in Milwaukee if you've
Yeah.
ever done that. So it's a lot of businesses, churches, sometimes historical buildings, right, that people get to go into that you normally wouldn't. It's like going to an open house and you can look in people's medicine cabinets.
Yeah, Jane, exactly like that, you weirdo. So, Robin, when is the beer and wine walk tickets available? Are they available now, or are they going to be going on sale soon?
They go on sale around Labor Day week.
Around Labor Day week.
Yeah.
It's important always to talk about that too, not just when the event is,
But when the tickets, when you can
the
get tickets.
tickets go on sale, because they'll snap them up.
And for people who aren't familiar with the walk, how does that work? How does the walk work?
So last year we had 16 different host site locations, so 16 different stops that people could go in and sample either local beer or a wine with a wristband. Each host location has food to give out as well, snacks and that, but it just gets people into the downtown, into businesses they typically wouldn't be able to get into, and then just kind of enjoy a night out.
There's some great little businesses in downtown Waukesha, little gifty shops and galleries, and if you're looking for something different as opposed to you're looking for a birthday present or an anniversary present, I highly encourage you to check out some of the businesses downtown because they really do have stuff you don't find everywhere.
Absolutely. And then there's obviously a lot of the events that Parks Department puts on during the year, like Tribute Tuesdays, movies in the park, jazz concerts. So a lot of stuff coming up. You have the farmers market going on. Friday Night Live starts,
Yes.
I believe, next Friday. So
Yep, and I will be down at the farmers market this Saturday.
okay.
Yeah. And I did some checking. Robert Allen was it seemed like he was my guitar teacher growing up.
Then we have to go when he is here so we can say hello.
Doubt he'll remember me, but
maybe you were a really bad student and that will stand out.
That was really not the way I wanted that to go, but okay. Thanks, everybody.
Robin Grams with the city of Waukesha. What is your website if people want to find out more?
You can go to the downtownwaukesha.com. We constantly post new calendar, new events, and everything like that.
We will get that in our show notes after the show. Thank you so very much for joining us, Robin. Stay with us. News is next. You're listening to Matenaer On Air, coming to you across the Civic Media Radio Network.
Dance, loose, dance. Stroll, loose, stroll. Fly, loose, fly.
Hi, Doug. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Let me turn up the volume.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're sounding good.
Okay, good.
We come back in about 90 seconds.
All right. How do I pronounce the host's name, the last name?
Matenaer.
Matenaer. Okay.
Good morning and welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Calvin Butenhoff, coming to you live from our studio in sunny downtown Waukesha. You can join our conversation. You could call, text at the same number, 855-752-4842. That's 855-75-CIVIC. Or leave a comment on the live stream if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We are joined this first segment of this hour by author Doug Haynes is here, and he is out with a new book, and it is called Wisconsin GOP History, a Coloring Book. And when I saw this email come in, I was so curious. Doug Haynes, thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
Thank you for having me on. It's kind of exciting to share my new book. I appreciate
Why a coloring book?
Well, I'm a visual artist, and so I do like to think in pictures. And actually, the inspiration came. I saw a call for entries from the Wisconsin Museum of Art, which is in West Bend, and they were having an exhibition in Milwaukee. And so the call for entries was about political art, and I was like, oh, I could do this, and it's not my first coloring book. So I actually I did one of State Street a few years back during the pandemic.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Well, we don't have time to go through every single page of your coloring book, so we're going to kind of condense things a little bit. And let's start with 1862, Old Abe in Battle.
So my great-great-grandfather was a soldier from Wisconsin. He was in what was called the Iron Brigade. And so he was actually, Old Abe was associated with a different unit, but Old Abe is such a symbol of Wisconsin. And I guess Old Abe and the Civil War belong in the coloring book because the Republicans were, one of their founding issues was abolition of slavery.
Yep.
And so there they are doing the deed that, taking action, I guess. I don't know how my great-great-grandfather voted, but he did sign up. He volunteered to be in the Civil War, and so
to fight for the Union.
In Wisconsin as a Wisconsin unit.
Yep.
Actually, the expression "on Wisconsin" was first shouted on the battlefield as like encouragement for soldiers, and it eventually became a football fight song, but.
And puts money in Paul McCartney's pocket every time it's played publicly.
So the Old Abe that you mentioned in your coloring book, Old Abe was a bald eagle kept as a mascot of the 8th Wisconsin Volunteer Infantry Regiment. Old Abe was a source of pride for Union troops and a target when spotted by Confederate soldiers.
This
So
is
they
all
took
true.
the eagle with them.
Yes, they did, and he was kind of an inspiration to those. I mean, you can imagine the hardships of the battlefield, and they Old Abe was one of them, and there were moments where he was flying over the soldiers, and it had to be quite a sight to see.
Is this well documented about this? I have never heard of this before.
So
Old
there's
Old
actually,
Abe the Eagle.
so Old Abe, the original eagle, is there was a fire in the Capitol, and Old Abe's body was preserved, but then it was destroyed by the fire. And they have a replica of Old Abe in the Capitol. And they also, if you're at Camp Randall Stadium, there's like an arch in memory of the soldiers. And above the arch in Camp Randall, there's a stone Old Abe kind of up above that arch.
That's so fascinating. It
So
really
cool.
is. It really is. Doug Haynes is our guest. He's the author of a new coloring book. It's called Wisconsin GOP History, a Coloring Book. We're going to jump up to 1894, Doug, to academic freedom. University of Wisconsin professor Richard Ely was attacked as a college anarchist for his progressive views on labor and economics. An inquiry was launched, and Ely was defended with the quote below: "Whatever may be the limitations which trammel inquiry elsewhere, we believe that the great state University of Wisconsin should ever encourage that continual and fearless sifting and winnowing by which alone the truth can be found."
I love the way they talk back then.
I know, and so our long history of being at the forefront education goes way back to the 1800s.
And that quote that is there in the book is that's inscribed in bronze in a plaque on Bascom Hall, and it remains the motto of the University of Wisconsin. So the Republicans at this point there's a progressive wing of the Republican Party, and they're all for figuring out ways that they can use their knowledge to advance the citizens of the state. And the Ely was on the forefront of that. He was kind of out there, and eventually he became the subject of an attack. Oliver Wells was a Democrat, and he kind of led the charge against Ely, and that came up short. The kind of defense of Richard Ely was unanimous by the board. But at that time they didn't have tenure in the way that we do now. So this kind of protection of academic freedom is kind of a cornerstone that kind of has held firm, I guess.
I mean, Doug, if you could make a whole companion, make a spin-off coloring book about the Republican Party, and then the slow rot.
The change, the
change.
changes.
We haven't gotten to that page yet, but the slow rot is going to come. We're
Okay,
still
all right.
So
Page
this
number
is only 1894. So
Exactly. We take a big jump in the next page we're going to talk about in your coloring book, 1950.
Oh boy.
Joe McCarthy and the Red Scare. U.S. Senator Joe McCarthy, known for accusing people without basis of being known communists. Many lives were ruined until he was finally censured in 1954. If you've never seen the movie Zelig about the Red Scare, it's really, really a good film.
Yeah.
So
have you no decency?
Yeah.
Sir?
That's right. And Joe McCarthy took the seat of Fighting Bob La Follette. So he was a senator prior to Joe McCarthy.
Yeah.
Eventually, Joe McCarthy gets censured, and William Proxmire takes that seat after him. But, Fighting Bob was originally a Republican, and he was in the progressive wing of the Republican Party. Eventually, he ran for president as a progressive candidate, and unfortunately he didn't win that 1924 race. But Joe McCarthy, not a lot of nice things to say about him, and at that time, censure worked. Apparently, the Senate had their wits about them, and they're like, "This guy's, we don't want anything to do with him," and so
Yeah.
they censored him, and um, we get the word McCarthyism nowadays. It's
Which
kind of,
is which essentially, in the definition of McCarthyism, is essentially what, going after people baselessly.
that's right. Yeah.
With
Yeah.
with fervor and a
And malice.
yeah.
With
So
fervor and malice.
actually, one detail that's not in the book, but the Joe McCarthy's protege was Roy Cohn, and
Yeah.
he eventually turns up as Trump's lawyer, and kind of there's a line there that connects.
Well, and if you don't know anything about Roy Cohn, it would behoove you to do a little research on that.
There's a couple of great documentaries about let's just say, the easiest way to put it, the contradictions of that man.
Yes.
To put it lightly. To put it lightly, I mean,
He doesn't get any mention in our book because he's not Wisconsin. He's not from Wisconsin. But
Yeah.
I have to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Doug Haynes is our guest. He's an author, and he's out with a new coloring book called Wisconsin GOP History, a coloring book. Moving on we go from Joe McCarthy to Dick Cheney in 2003. UW alumnus Dick Cheney worked for multiple presidents. Eventually, he rose to the vice presidency, where his influence over President George W. Bush was enormous.
So he's on campus during the kind of the turmoil years of anti-Vietnam protest on the UW campus, and but not on that side. He was kind of taking I think that was he staunch Republican from the beginning. He kind of moved into Nixon's orbit, and I have him pictured with Henry Kissinger and Roger Stone and his that new circle. I depict the Dick Cheney with kind of octopus arms because he had his tentacles into everything.
Dick was a busy guy.
Yeah.
We've got Halliburton, we've got Gitmo, we've got Iraq, we've got Abu Ghraib, and the enemy combatants. That's like there's a bit of him tearing up the Bill of Rights and with one of his tentacles, and
well, and what's so interesting when we look at today now, again, Dick Cheney, a stalwart of the Republican Party, one of the elder statesmen, his daughter Liz Cheney, who was in office for ages, and the Republicans have rejected her now because she rejected Donald Trump.
She's a rhino.
Yeah. Now she's a Republican in name only.
So actually, I have Liz Cheney in the stroller right on Bascom Hill in that page with Dick Cheney. And then, of course, I have the next page has Dick Cheney with a new heart because he kind of he came out in support of gay marriage, and he opposed Trump. So he also had an actual new heart because he had like 5 heart attacks.
Doug, we're coming up against the break. Can you stick with us just for a couple of more minutes?
Oh, sure. Yes.
Wonderful. Doug Haynes is here, author of Wisconsin GOP History, a coloring book. We'll be right back. Stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
She gives me and she starts to cry. She takes a swing, man. She can't have. She don't mean no harm. She just don't know what else to do about it. Jane said, Jane said,
Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, the Calvinator on the board. Always join us. Call or text at 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching in the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that Elon continues to actively ruin. We're very happy to continue our conversation with our guest. Author Doug Haynes is here, out with a new book called GOP, The Coloring Book, and kind of the history of the Republican Party, which started in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And we're up to 2012, 2024, and the gerrymandered maps.
Oh,
This
yeah.
was a big turning point in Wisconsin, wasn't it?
So this happened for too long, right? I mean, it was just frustrating to have all these maps. So I depicted the something of a map folder that could turn our he folded it just right so that the blue is all hidden and the red's only showing, and it ends up looking like an elephant.
No matter how you fold it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no matter how you fold it, you're gonna have a Republican majority district.
So I remember, I'm old enough to remember people actually folded maps and didn't, have phones to look up the roads, and that was always like an argument among spouses. Is like, how do you fold the map? And so that was kind of a play on that, if you're old enough to remember.
Also on the page, it says the 2011 gerrymander was made in secret without any input from Democrats. The maps gave Republicans a supermajority in the legislature, despite equal numbers of Democrats and Republicans. Our friend and colleague Todd Alba, who follows us after the noon news from noon to 2 p.m. across the network, was working for a Republican state lawmaker at that time, and he saw what was happening behind closed doors and the glee with which some lawmakers were making sure it would be harder for certain people to vote. And that's when he left the Republican Party, and he was a Republican for 30 years.
Well, I sure hope that Republicans will take a look at this book and kind of, I mean, Republicans are kind of nostalgic in a way, and they have this penchant for nostalgia. And if we look at the actual history, there's a lot of good stuff back there, but it's not kind of what they might think, or where they are at now. Is they need to kind of change their headspace, maybe.
And look back at history.
Yeah. There's some it's a fascinating history, and that was really, it drew me in as I was researching this. One thing I'll say is, like I said, I'm old enough to remember stuff, and the latter half of the book really is drawn from memory. There wasn't so much that I needed to research other than to check my facts, but
right.
I kind of lived this. I'm a native of Madison, and I've been through a lot. I was a member of a union during the
Act 10.
Act 10, yeah, and we were out there around the Capitol with the palm trees and.
And if you don't know what Doug is referencing, because I will never forget this, it wasn't Hannity, it was who was Bill O'Reilly.
Oh, him.
Bill O'Reilly ran a clip on Fox News, which gets millions in views, and allegedly showed protesters being violent during the Act 10 protests in Madison, and there were palm trees in the background, and these were going on. The protests were happening in February in Wisconsin, and we all know the palm trees proliferate here, especially coming out of winter.
Especially around the Capitol building.
Yeah.
Along the square.
The whole,
oh my gosh.
the whole ring of
the
palms.
soil is so rich.
Yeah, it was a peaceful protest. We had my daughter, who was in fourth grade that time. She came along with us.
I mean, there was singing. There was, from what I recall, there were a few bad actors. Unfortunately, there were a few bad actors. There were some naughty things that were left behind in the Capitol.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know. But it wasn't the billions and billions and billions of dollars of damage that had been kind of alleged.
They had the temerity to go sing there. The Capitol, they were like these singers that sang in the Capitol regularly, and they tried to roast them out because of something. I don't know.
Well, and that prompted Scott Walker's award-winning novel, Unintimidated. Because he was so brave when he was.
of him on the phone with a blogger that's the fake Coke blogger.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody pretended to be one of the Koch brothers, and they were talking about stirring up trouble
Yeah.
and planting troublemakers intentionally.
Yeah.
We got a couple of minutes left, Doug. Let's talk about the final page that we're going to be able to talk about is 2017, and it's about Foxconn.
All right, so Foxconn, that's a special kind of grift. I mean, we basically privatized the gain and is pushed the risk to public and I mean this was kind of in the final days where Walker's trying to get himself reelected, and his kind of failed pledge to bring a lot of jobs to Wisconsin. He hoped that this was the Hail Mary, I guess, but they kind of, you know, created this thing that was pretty vacant and didn't end up making jobs, but actually Donald Trump called it the eighth wonder of the world at the ground.
Oh, I remember that so well. It wasn't Paul Ryan there when they did
everybody that was
everybody that could glom onto this was there with a golden shovel.
Yep.
Trump was there.
Yeah.
And this is going to be transformative and make Wisconsin a tech hub and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, there were lots of grandiose promises that were made with that deal that never came to pass.
Nope. But luckily now that land's being used by Microsoft eventually.
Yes.
Yeah. So the book goes beyond the Foxconn. It ends kind of, it goes toward, it has Ron Johnson's treason. It has, you know, the January 6th hearings. It kind of winds up with what we have in the way of bipartisanship, which is we're all in support of the Christmas tree at the Capitol. Beyond that, I think your viewers would enjoy this book. And
well, you got to check it out. It's called Wisconsin GOP History, a coloring book. You can find it at artcoloringbook.com, and we will put that link in our show notes if you want to follow up on that. And graduation gift.
Oh, yeah. Christmas gift.
Christmas presents. You can start shopping early. Again, it's artcoloringbook.com if you want to check out Wisconsin GOP History, a coloring book. The author, Doug Haynes, has been our guest. Do you have any other projects coming up that we should be on the lookout for, Doug?
Well, this will keep me busy for a while, but I've already sketched 100 sketches of the humanities building on the UW campus, and eventually I hope to publish that as a book.
Fascinating. Wonderful little historical tidbits you might not have been aware of. Check it out. We'll put the link in our show notes. Thank you so very much, Doug. News is coming up next, and when we return, a California guy update. I highly encourage you to stick around. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Every day, every day, every day, every day, I write the book. I'm giving you a loving look. Every day, every day, every day, I write the book. I'm giving you a loving look. Every day, I write the book. I'm giving you a loving look. Every day, every day, every day, I write the book. I'm giving you a loving look. Every day, I write the book. spies from China try to steal your mind's elation. And little girls from Sweden dream of silver screen quotation. And if you want these kind of dreams, it's Californication.
Good morning and welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Dr. Slide on the board. We are coming to you from our studio in downtown Waukesha, where you can always join us. You can call, you can text. Same number, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC, or leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Just want to remind you, if you're making plans for the weekend, make a plan to join me this Saturday at the wonderful Waukesha Farmers Market right along the river in downtown Waukesha. Look for the WAUK Civic Media tent. We will be down there. We have a friend who's setting up, and I should be out there from 9 to about 11:30 this coming Saturday morning. You can register to win a bicycle. And if you want to have a longer chat than we're able to do on the air, I encourage you to come by. I mean that with all sincerity. That I want to find out where you are and what you're thinking about.
I'm right here.
If you like the show. Speaking of farmers markets, Angie from Monroe texted in. She's listening in Madison on WMDX. Angie says, yesterday I went by our farmers market. There was a group there with pamphlets about not being pro-choice. So I ran to the dollar store and I stood next to them all day. Now I keep a sign in my car just in case. Her sign says, our grandmothers fought this fight. Our granddaughters, mothers, sisters, aunts deserve to choose.
Darn right.
Some good trouble out there, Angie. Thank
Love
you
it.
for that. Thank you for
Yes.
that. All right, we want to do a little California guy update because we haven't talked to
Yes.
him, it feels like, in ages.
Feels like a while
It
now.
does. It does feel like a while. A super PAC that has spent more than $220,000 on digital ads was almost entirely funded by Eric Hovde's brother.
What?
According
What?
to the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, Steve Hovde gave $1 million to the Fix Washington Political Action Committee just days after it was created in February. Of course, when Hovde ran in 2012, his brother donated the maximum federal contribution of $5,000. But again, he's bumped that up to $1 million. You can do that. You can't give $1 million directly to a candidate, but you can give it to a super PAC, which is a whole nother scam.
I mean, honestly, one day we need to have like a review. Citizens United, answer your questions.
That would be great.
Yeah.
It really would. And I noticed I was getting dinner ready last night, and they always do these during the local news hours.
Yeah.
Because that's really when the only time I watch broadcast television, because I'm an old person. I watch from 5 to 6. And this ad comes up with a woman's voice. Tammy Baldwin is a hypocrite. I did a spit take and burst out laughing. She is, what did they accuse her of? They accused Tammy Baldwin of jetting to a fundraiser during the COVID lockdown and then jetting back to Washington to be with her girlfriend. Ew.
They're trying so hard.
They really are trying a lot of different angles, the Hovde campaign.
And like this angle of, the snarky negative attack ad, especially during a primary. I know that Eric has no opponents. They're probably, the primary is a foregone conclusion. and
Pretty
whatever.
much.
But this whole thing of like, we're going to hire a person with this voice to talk about how this person is terrible because I sound like this.
Well, there's got to be people who only do political voice work
Yeah.
just because of those qualities.
Could you imagine if that was their only tone of voice too? I'd like a number 1, please, with a large fry.
In all aspects of their life.
Exactly. I'm sorry to hear about the passing of your aunt. She seemed lovely.
We do have a couple clips.
Yes. Yes. So
Would you like to set these up, Greg Bach?
absolutely. So Eric Hovde, California landowner that he is, he's been running ads since really the beginning. And I would say with a definite 2 out of 10 effective rating, because the first one was just him walking down the street.
That's right.
And kind of giving like, I'm Eric Hovde. You remember me from 2012
and I'm a
losing?
Wisconsin guy. Or he didn't know. Is that the one? He didn't even mention Wisconsin.
He
I think in
didn't-
the first ad that
In
he
the
ran.
first ad he did, he never mentioned Wisconsin.
Yep.
And then the next ad was sitting in a frozen lake. It wasn't
Who
so much
could-
an ad.
Who
It wasn't.
could forget?
It wasn't an ad. I shouldn't say. To be fair, it was not an ad. It was just like a TikTok video. But to try to gain that, that common man ground that, all people try to do by sitting in a frozen lake
In front of my mansion.
as prescribed by doctors.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then the next one was the axe throwing.
axe throwing.
Ah.
The next one after that was his wife telling us how much of a Wisconsinite he is. And since then, it's been now the basic fare. Well, he released 2 very short ads, 15 seconds on, and I saw them both on Twitter.
So these are part of the digital package.
These are part of the digital package.
The packs are buying.
So can we run the first one, please? That one I believe is having to do with mud. Wait.
Time to clean out the swamp in DC.
Okay, so that ad,
What is the visual on that?
the visual is him sitting in a basically a plow truck, like an industrial, like construction plow truck.
Okay.
And he's driving it a little bit, and he's talking about cleaning out the swamp in Washington. A very a very topical take on Washington, very popular with Donald Trump, who, by the way, just as an aside, never cleaned out the swamp. And then he opens the door up and he says, "Time to clean out the swamp in Washington." He's driving this big vehicle over an empty, muddy field. So the visual really connects with the words.
So he's not actually in a swamp.
He's not in the swamp. He's cleaning nothing. He's not wearing waders. He's in jeans and a button-down shirt and talking about how he wants to clear out the swamp while in an empty field with nobody around him, by the way. And it looks like he's destroyed that field. So that's one. That's a 15-second ad in which he doesn't talk for 12 of those seconds.
Yeah, he's just riding in his truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we got a second ad from him, once again, telling us how much he loves and is from Wisconsin. Cal, can you play that one?
Senator Baldwin says I'm not from Wisconsin, but this was my childhood home where I've had my business for 20 years. I'm a 4th-generation Wisconsinite. If Senator Baldwin's not going to be honest with you about where I'm from, what makes you think she'll be honest with you about anything?
Oh, okay. A couple things. Has the Baldwin campaign ever said he's not from Wisconsin?
I highly doubt it.
I mean, he was born here.
He was,
And he went to UW-Madison.
He was born here. He was raised here. He went to UW-Madison, and then he, like a lot of people, went off and found their fortune, found their success, found their path. I am not begrudging anybody that pathway or that journey or that story. This is my only problem. Eric Hovde, are you listening? I thought you were. Eric Hovde, fire your communications director.
No.
It's all wrong.
No, keep doing what you're doing, Eric.
Fire
You are on the right path, Eric Hovde. Don't get rid of your comms director. He's spot on.
Don't listen, or she. Don't be a sexist.
It could be.
Jane's a terrible at hypnotism. This whole thing of just trying. He's spending so much time trying to convince us that he's from Wisconsin, that he's of Wisconsin, and that Tammy Baldwin is terrible. I still have very little knowledge of what he stands for as a policy. He keeps on making mistakes in his, he keeps on saying things that just get the stuffing kicked out of him. But yet he's not sitting here saying I believe in a strong business policy that puts business first because business is what builds this company.
Or here's what I'm going to do on behalf of small businesses.
Yes.
Or give me a policy, anything.
I believe that we need more opportunities for family. We need that, I could write 10 digital commercials for you that you would never even talk about that you're from Wisconsin. You just talk about Wisconsin. Don't make them believe you. Just believe it yourself. That's the thing is, Eric Covey, do you think you're from Wisconsin? Just because I'm like a 6th-generation Wisconsinite. I don't talk about being from Wisconsin as much as you do.
Because you don't have to prove your bona fides.
I don't have to prove. I have the bona fides right here. They look at this. Do I look like I've ever turned away all-you-can-eat fish fry? No, I'm from Wisconsin.
Which Sherry on the live stream kind of says the same thing. Why can't they just talk about what they're planning to do? You're absolutely right, Sherry, but that's because they don't have any plans.
No, they do
There's
not.
no platform.
But
it's fear-mongering and scare tactics.
It's also sleight of hand. It's it's the scare, yeah, the scaremongering through sleight of hand. Look over there, the boogie monster's over there.
Yep.
And as we know, as they're doing that, then they're making sure that their buddies get tax breaks and we do not. So, and I'm going to say something controversial. I know Jane's not going to like this.
Uh-oh.
Do you know what you need to do, Eric Hovde, with your narrative? Embrace it. You are a person who was born in this state. You were raised in this state. You were educated. Oh, by the way, in public education university, in a public education university, the UW Wisconsin in Madison, public education. You were educated here. You went off and you found your fortune thanks to your dad. But also, you come back home to where you can do the most good. You could make it so you never have to defend your California position ever again by saying it once, grabbing the message instead of going, I'm from California. I like icy lakes and throwing things that are sharp.
Okay, Hovde campaign. Greg gave you terrible advice. That's terrible advice. You stick with your comms people you have right now. They can't miss. This is a winning strategy. I highly encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. It's so effective. It's just so effective. And the more he talks,
Oh my
Greg
God.
Bach, the better and better it gets. He did an interview this week when he was asked about if there's too much money in politics. And the guy who donated, what, $9 million to his own campaign,
$8 million.
$8 million, and whose brother just donated $1 million to his campaign. When asked about if there's too much money in politics, Eric Hovde said 100%, it's disgusting.
When you donate 10 million, when you get to 10 million, it's disgusting.
Oh, is that what it is?
It's 10
So
million.
anything beyond
Yep.
100 million is fine.
Yeah.
Our politics, according to Eric Hovde, has way too much money in it, and it's distorting things. And I think fundamentally that is one of the problems in Washington, D.C. Everybody is bought off at some level. I think I found something on which I agree. There's too much money in politics.
There's too much money.
Outside money in politics.
Hey, LA Tom, how would you, if you're listening right now, Eric Hovde agrees with you. Get money out politics. Let them speak for themselves. You know, it's just, oh, I kind of feel bad for the GOP. They have such a bad candidate. He's just not
With a
good.
winning message, Greg Bach.
You know, if your mom or dad or grandma or grandpa's going in that funeral into the funeral home, it's really it's not a care facility. It's a funeral home because they'll be gone soon. He has made so many missteps and just saying what I think is exactly on his mind.
One wonders.
Yeah.
One really wonders. He was asked about his comments on people in nursing homes, where he essentially said people in nursing homes don't have the faculties to vote because they're pretty much going to die in 5 months anyway.
Yes.
Hovde mostly defends those statements. He says elderly people in nursing homes and assisted care facilities are being taken advantage of. He also expressed belief that between assisted living and hospice, his statement was not inaccurate. So essentially, he's saying, yeah, you're too old and feeble. You shouldn't be allowed to vote.
No.
And we're going to make that decision for you.
Yeah. They love taking away the bodily autonomy, the voting autonomy of people. They're all about freedom, aren't they, Jane?
They absolutely
They
are.
love freedom and let freedom ring as long as you are a rich man.
If you would like to join the conversation, 855-752-4842, 855-75-Civic, or leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and or Twitter. Speaking of attack ads, Greg
Yeah.
Bach, we're going to revisit a couple of attack ads aimed at Senator Tammy Baldwin. Ooh, ouch. They're harsh. Don't go away. Those are next. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Sicker than the rest, there is no test, but this is what you're craving. Firstborn unicorn, hardcore softcore, dream of Californication, dream of Californication, dream of Californication. Dream of Californication.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calvinator on the board. You can always join us. You can call, you can text at 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Encourage you to download the Civic Media app. You can get it free wherever you get your apps, and that allows you to call and text directly from the app into the show that you're listening to wherever it is across the Civic Media Network. And then we have that big statewide text to win contest that's starting on Monday. You can win some really, really nice prizes, but you're going to have to text in from the app. So if you want to do that, I would encourage you to do that. We're having kind of an internal competition among hosts to see who gets the most texts. I know we're going to do great.
All right.
I
Okay.
feel very confident.
Very confident.
Very
Do
confident.
you guys feel confident? Jane does.
We're going to be good.
Yeah.
We're gonna
be great.
We're going to be great. All right. We've been talking about Eric Hovde splashing out for some new digital ads that essentially say nothing. One of them is him driving some big truck through a field, talking about draining the swamp. That's the only thing he says, which, as Calvin pointed out, Trump never even mentions. Does he even mention that anymore?
No,
Draining the swamp? Is that not a thing?
he actually even said in like at a rally, it was stupid. I shouldn't have said it. I didn't like it. But he said it and it caught on. They
It
loved it.
did.
So he just wouldn't shut up. And then finally he was like,
Oh, we'll let that go.
yeah.
Apparently it's been drained. Everything's fine.
Just really quick here to answer Sherry's question on the live stream. She said, text here or the app. You got to download the app,
Yep,
Sherry.
yep.
You text through the app. You can't win through the live stream, and you can't win by calling.
No.
And you can't win by texting from your phone number. I know it sounds not to become.
It's got to go through the app.
You got to open the app up, text through the app to our station during our show and only our show. I'm just kidding. You can text whenever you want, whenever the contest is happening.
It is a great thing, though. It's going to go on for 2 weeks. So that starts on Monday, coming up at 7 a.m. So make sure you get the Civic Media app downloaded before then. It is absolutely free. Back to the Eric Hovde ads. And we've been kind of having a little fun at his comms director.
I'm trying to be helpful.
I know you are. But I do think there have been a couple ads that we have been privy to, Greg Bach, that are pretty effective.
I would actually say we're lucky to be part of their orbit. I don't hear this. I've heard it on other shows on Civic Media, but
Yeah.
we're the first ones to premiere these.
Usually.
And I don't hear them anywhere else on radio or television or the print media.
I'm not sure why this message isn't being spread more widely, because I think it would have a lot more impact for the Hovde campaign. But we've aired these a couple times, but not everybody has had a chance to hear them. So, Calvin, let's play that first completely real and totally legitimate attack ad.
What has Senator Tammy Baldwin done to Wisconsin? Let's take a look at her record. Last year, Senator Baldwin helped lower the cost of insulin for Wisconsin seniors. Shocking? Oh yes, a $35 cap on out-of-pocket costs for senior citizens on Medicare? And there's more. Tammy Baldwin brought home $200 million to fight for clean drinking water for everyone and is helping build actual bridges in Wisconsin by securing over $3 billion through the bipartisan infrastructure law. Is this what the people of Wisconsin want? A radical socialist, communist, Marxist, liberal, feminist in a caravan? A lawmaker doing actual work on your behalf? We know better. So vote for the California guy running against Senator Tammy Baldwin. She needs to stop getting things done for Wisconsin. You guys, this is actual good stuff. Did you... whatever. Paid for by the We Got Nothing Else Super PAC. Also, Senator Baldwin has no idea who we are and does not endorse this message.
Now, that was the first completely real, totally legitimate attack ad from the We Got Nothing Else Super PAC.
Yeah.
Which, again, Hovde comms director, you should look to this. You should work with this super PAC maybe
I think
to
they're great.
direct your messaging, because
Maybe someone from that super PAC should call their offices
that could be fun.
and give them some advice.
Oh, there, no.
I mean, it worked for Scott Walker and the Koch brothers. Why not us?
We have a second completely real, totally legitimate attack ad. Take a listen to this one.
Wisconsin's 2 U.S. senators couldn't be more different. Democrat Tammy Baldwin keeps getting things done for her constituents. She helped secure funding for infrastructure projects like the Blatnick Bridge and made sure Wisconsin seniors can afford life-saving insulin. But Republican Senator Ron Johnson knows exactly what needs to happen to make your life better.
I think we'd be far better off if we never passed another piece of legislation.
That's bold.
This November, elect the wealthy California guy who sits in frozen lakes. Just like Senator Johnson, he'll work hard when he gets to Washington, just not for you. Paid for by the We Got Nothing Else Super PAC. Also, Senator Baldwin has no idea who we are and does not endorse this message.
That was the second really devastating.
I felt it.
I know, right? Just right to the core.
I mean, let me tell you something. I just want to say, as a person who works in audio sound, it was really well done.
what an incredible mixing job.
I know whoever
Right?
did that.
All
just-
those elements that have to
You know,
be.
Calvin, can you and I, as board op / producers, just take a moment? Whomever did that, just
Wow, it's
thank you. I'm the only one clapping, by the way. Okay, cool.
award winning.
Thanks, Calvin.
Award winning.
Big ups to you.
Tony Zimmerman on the live stream says, I blame the lamestream media for not spreading this totally legitimate message. Tony, you're so right.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all.
You're so right. Well, maybe it's where if the super PAC doesn't make a buy, people aren't just going to run it. They have to actually make an advertising.
They
buy.
make bulk buys
Bulk
too.
buys, yeah.
Bulk buys. Like there might actually be like another commercial or 2 more commercials. We don't know.
Well, and if you want to listen to all 3, I believe there are 3. They can find them somewhere.
On SoundCloud. We have a
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud website. I will post the page on there today, and you can listen to all 3 of the ads and any other ads that might come our way via empty, dark parking lots at midnight with tall people in trench coats and fedoras.
There could be a new attack ad tomorrow.
Oh boy.
I know. That's the rumor anyway. We'll let you know.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning starting at 10 o'clock. All right. Thank you so much to Calvin and to Greg and to our engineering team. You make everything work. Without you, everything is a disaster. Thank you so very much. And thank you most of all to all of you, for texting and for calling and for listening. It means the absolute world. I hope you find some joy today. Get outside and you get the chance to spread it. Stay with us. News is coming up next, and then Todd Alba right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.